Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating linguistic mystery, one that literally plagues IT pros, writers, and executives everywhere. Have you ever been right in the middle of drafting an important email or maybe a final brief and suddenly found yourself staring at a blinking cursor, totally second-guessing how to spell the very industry you're writing about? You know, it's a surprisingly common dilemma. So today we're going to unpack the history, the hard data, and the definitive global ruling on the great spelling debate.
I want you to think about this for a sec. Which spelling do you naturally reach for? Do you combine it all into one solid word? Or, be honest, do you instinctively hit that spacebar and split it into two? It seems like such a tiny, almost insignificant detail, right? But as you'll see today, the choice you make actually reveals a whole lot about where you are in the world, what industry you're working in, and even the historical standards your region follows. All right, let's bring in the two main suspects in our lineup. On one side, we've got cybersecurity as a single, unified word. On the other, we have cybersecurity split right down the middle into two. For years now, these two variations have battled it out across government documents, global media, and corporate branding, and this visual tension is absolutely at the heart of today's investigation. So, how did we get a fractured spelling for one of the most crucial concepts of the modern era? Well, to solve this mystery, we've got to look back at the historical evidence.
Section 1. Origins of the cyber prefix.
Okay, let's dive into this timeline. Language is always adapting, and our story actually starts all the way back in ancient Greece with the word kybernetes, which roughly meant to steer or governor. Fast forward to 1948, and mathematician Norbert Wiener uses it in his book Cybernetics to describe communication in machines. Then sci-fi gets a hold of it. In 1984, William Gibson writes the novel Neuromancer and completely popularizes the word cyberspace. By the time the infamous Morris worm cyber attack hits in 1988, the prefix cyber has become inextricably linked to the digital world. Finally, in the late 90s and 2000s, the term reached mainstream standardization. But here's the catch. Mainstream adoption definitely didn't mean universal agreement.
Section 2. The Global Spelling Map.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how local grammatical structures literally shape the English spelling different countries adopt. In North America, the one-word cybersecurity absolutely dominates the tech industry. But look at the UK. They highly prefer the two-word cybersecurity in their media outlets. India widely uses the two-word version as well, which is heavily influenced by British English conventions that treat compound nouns as separate words. In China, Mandarin translates the concept directly to network security, naturally leaning toward the two-word English translation. But over in Japan, the transliteration into katakana doesn't use spaces, so they naturally condense it right back into the one-word cybersecurity. It's just a perfect example of culture shaping language.
But wait, let's throw a surprising third suspect into our lineup. Take a look at this spelling. C-I-B-E-R, security. Now, to native English speakers, this immediately looks like a blatant typo. No way that's right, right? But the truth is, this spelling actually holds a lot of water in certain parts of the world. See, if you're in Latin America, Spain, or other Romance language-speaking regions, cyber is perfectly correct. It stems directly from Spanish and Portuguese. In Spanish, it's ciberseguridad, and in Portuguese, it's cibersegurança. Both languages take that phonetically similar prefix cyber and attach their own grammatical endings for the word security. So while it might trigger a massive spell check warning in English, it's a completely accurate adaptation rooted in shared Latin history.
Section 3. The evidence in the data.
So, we've seen the history and the regional preferences, but what does the hard statistical evidence actually say? Well, when we look at global search engine trends, it's honestly not even a close race. The one-word spelling, cybersecurity, has a massive, overwhelming lead. The two-word variation holds a moderate chunk of volume, largely thanks to regions like the UK and India. And the third suspect we just talked about, cybersecurity, on a global scale, it barely even registers. The data clearly proves that the single-word variation is the undisputed heavyweight champion of search traffic.
Section 4. The Definitive Verdict.
All right, the definitive verdict is officially in. Cybersecurity, all one word, is the most common and accepted standard. Why? Because the biggest global organizations that literally write the rules for this stuff, like NIST, ISO, and ENISA, all exclusively use the one-word term. And, you know, when the organizations setting the global standards use it, the rest of the world copies them. It is absolutely the safest bet for the tech industry, official contexts, and just maintaining global consistency.
Section 5. Why your choice matters.
So, the crucial point is, why does this actually matter to you? You might be thinking, hey, as long as people know what I mean, who cares about a space? Well, picking the right spelling has real-world consequences for professionals. Let's walk through these practical steps. Step 1. Pick a spelling based on your target region. If you're targeting UK media, maybe 2 words make sense. Targeting Spanish speakers, use Cybersecurity. Step 2. Maintain strict brand consistency across all your communications. And step 3, this is absolutely vital for content creators, avoid mixing spellings to protect your SEO. Targeting multiple variations in the exact same article just confuses users and hurts your search rankings. Basically, pick your lane and stick to it.
Looking ahead, we have a rather bold prediction from Alexander Sverdlov, a security analyst at Atlant Security. He states, "We predict that the only surviving term in the future will be cybersecurity, and cybersecurity, or cybersecurity, will completely disappear off people's minds." He points out that eventually the only place you'll see the split-word version will be on outdated web pages. And it's true. Even non-Latin languages are rapidly adopting the single-word version en masse.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. As our digital world becomes even more interconnected, and as global standards continue to consolidate, will the 2-word spelling eventually go extinct entirely? It's a fascinating look at how technology doesn't just change our tools, it quite literally changes the words we use to describe them. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep your brand consistent, and I'll catch you on the next one.